take projection.
Welcome everybody to Taking on Sports. I am TD. That is Greg, and for the first time ever, we have a guest. That is Mallory from the Stare Down. Mal, how you doing?
I'm good. Well, I mean, I've slept on it, so I'm good. I'm good now. Let's go with that.
That's good. Greg, how you doing, man?
I am feeling much better this weekend than the past couple. I want to say
That
that.
is true. That is
I
true.
mean, hell, if my quarterback played the way y'all's did, I'd be feeling really good too. I get it.
We have a quarterback, and we of course are
Yeah.
talking about Bama Ole Miss, the big game of the weekend. Alabama wins 24-10. A tale of two halves for sure.
Yeah.
An ugly first half, kind of for both teams, and then a little bit of old school Saban Bama in the second half. Mal, you're our guest. I'll throw it to you. What was what changed from the first to the second half?
So I was there, sitting in a Bama section, wearing my powder blue number 10 jersey because nobody wears number 10 now at Ole Miss. But I think, honest to God, what happened is you have a Nick Saban run team, and Saban is never going to let his teams and his defenses be outplayed. And I think that's the whole thing, that even if Bama fans are questioning Milroe, like, he's put Milroe in for a reason. And should Milroe have gotten rid of the ball a lot faster a couple of times? Yeah, but he knew his defense could force Jackson to run. And Jackson, when he's forced to run, he panics. And so he turned that little bit of panic back on us. So I'll take it. I was not expecting us to win, unlike 95% of Ole Miss fans. It was a good game. I was actually really proud of our defense. I feel like Pete Golding is actually a great fit for us, but maybe not for y'all. But he's great for us. So I was happy with what I saw out of them, especially once y'all start on the 1 yard line and don't score anything except a field goal. So yeah, it was good. Y'all are gonna go win the West. There's gonna be chaos, but y'all are gonna win it.
Oh, interesting. Greg, is that second half Bama? Is that the real Bama now? Is that what we think we'll see the rest of the year?
I really hope so. We heard all off season that was what we're getting back to, murder ball. We got the big offensive line guys in there, and we got to it, ran the ball like we used to, and Lane said they're gonna run the ball. We just got to stop it. In the interview on the sideline, we did. They weren't able to stop it. So Jace McClellan had a heck of a second half, and you love to see it because we're starting to find an identity of who our offense is, and that's what we've been looking for.
Yeah, for sure. Mallory, you mentioned, yeah, Milroe. I think we kind of know what he's going to be as a quarterback now. He's going to give us some amazing plays with his feet and his arm, and then he's going to do some really frustrating things. Another bad interception
Mm.
in a crucial spot. You hope as a Bama fan that those are very limited, and like yesterday, we can uh, avoid letting them kill our games, like the Texas game. Um, you mentioned the play that blew all of my text up as I'm up here in Ohio working and not able to watch the game this weekend. I just saw that we blocked a punt. I was very happy, and then
Yeah.
somehow ESPN app told me that we had a 3 play negative 22-yard drive.
That we
You
Um,
did.
did. You did.
and you know, you
That
know,
we did.
yeah, I think I can sum up my experience from just following the game via text and app that my dad's first half summary was, we're terrible, this team is terrible, this offensive line is terrible, this season is terrible. And his second half summary was Alabama football. And that's it. No other words.
All
So
right. So welcome to being an Ole Miss fan, because normally it's like the first half, I'm like, yeah, we're gonna like kill everybody, and then the second half, I'm like, we are Ole Miss. Oi. But no, like, honestly, I think Bama, I mean, you can't be a Nick Saban coach team and not have the depth and have the experience. And the difference that I think between Ole Miss and Bama yesterday was Bama stayed calm. Ole Miss did not. our defense, Ole Miss's defense, totally stayed calm. But at a certain point, too, though, we don't have the depth that Bama has. And that's not like, maybe it is an NIL thing that we just haven't been able to build up. But Bama has always had the depth where you can cycle in everybody. And we're not there yet, but it showed for us. But I think like y'all just have the ability to like sit back, stay calm. Based on what we saw out of Tennessee at Florida, y'all gonna beat the hell out of them. I can't wait for that one because as long as they're throwing mustard and golf balls, they can kiss my hiney. But anyway, no, like if nothing else, I walked out of Tuscaloosa being like, I can say go to hell Auburn and go to hell Tennessee, and it was a good game. It's still early in the season. I mean, we're literally like truly week 1 of conference play. So if that's what Bama's going to do all year, bring on LSU. I kind of want to see what y'all are going to do to them.
Greg, are you as confident in the Tide?
We'll give it some time. We'll give it
Spoken
some
like a
time.
true Bama fan. Yeah.
We will give it some time. Just because the second half was perfect. I loved it. That first half, I mean, we can't in 2 weeks. Let's say we can't have that first half in 2 weeks when we go to College Station. That can't happen at all.
Oof. It depends on what Texas A&M shows up, though. Is it the
Yeah.
Texas A&M that showed up in Miami, or is it the Texas A&M that corrected their mistakes against Auburn? Because there were definitely mistakes against Auburn. By the
Yeah.
way, Jimbo, literally stick your leg out, tackle the dude. Why the hell is the SEC letting this happen? Jimbo should
Yeah.
have never been on the field, but that's a whole other story for another day. But
Hard.
no, I
Pulling the old
think
Mike
y'all are gonna go
Tomlin
in.
there.
Oh,
Mhm.
yeah, a little bit, tiny bit. But no, I think y'all are good.
Well, you may have answered it already in talking about it, Mallory. But what does it take for Ole Miss to get over that Bama hump? Specifically, maybe just Lane Kiffin, because he's been so close a couple times, but it's just not. That roller coaster's stalling at the top of the hill.
Yeah, no, you're not wrong. So I think 2020, everybody said this was the year, but I honest to God think 2020 was the year because you've got COVID. It's Lane's first year at Ole Miss. We're a total kind of unknown as to what we're going to do. If we don't do it that year, this really is kind of our next year, but you know what we are now. And so I think if Lane is going to do it against Bama, which sadly won't happen next year, and y'all, I'm actually really, really sad. I will give up any game we have. Y'all can take Oklahoma back. Like, go away, Oklahoma. I want Bama back. But if Lane is ever going to cross that hump with Saban, it's going to have to be a complete surprise. It's going to have to be not pulling in your number 1 tight end 4 weeks into the season. It's his first game because he's coming off of surgery. Trey Harris coming off of injured reserve after he got messed up in the Tulane game. Quinshawn, Bama's defense knew exactly what Quinshawn was, and that's the whole problem with Quinshawn this year in the SEC is everybody's seen an entire year with him, and they know exactly what he is. So Lane's got to get that like surprise element, and he hasn't quite had it. He almost did in 2020, but Nick Saban is still Nick Saban, and he still has depth, and he's going to pull it through. So yeah, I think that's it. We just haven't had that surprise element enough.
That's a good answer. So last thing on this game, I think, unless Greg or you have anything else, but so yes or no, Lane Kiffin will beat Nick Saban before Lane comes back home to Tuscaloosa to take over the head coach job here in Alabama.
Yes, because you don't make $9 million a year living in the middle of nowhere, Mississippi, and leave.
No. Okay.
$9 million in Oxford goes a hell of a lot further than $9 million in Tuscaloosa.
That's true, especially these days.
Yeah.
Greg, anything else on this game you want to add?
No, I'm happy and move on 24-hour rule time. Move on to Starksville.
Yeah, that's
Hey,
good.
yeah, y'all better go take out Mississippi State. I'm gonna be yelling "Roll Tide, roll," and
Yes.
y'all got this recorded now, so it's
Yeah,
approved.
there you go. Unedited. Yes. Hopefully we go silence the cowbells, but we'll talk about next week in a little bit. Just a great week of college football. A great Saturday. A horrible Saturday for me to be out in the festival working, but
Yeah.
I guess we'll go We'll go last night since I'm here in Buckeye country. Ohio State wins on a last second. Great call, I thought. Great last minute drive. Goes into South Bend, beats Notre Dame, crushes the hearts of the Irish. Uh, Greg, what do we take from this game? Was that just Ohio State overpowering maybe a little bit overrated Notre Dame team? Was just Ohio State reminding everybody that they're Ohio State? And how crazy is Ryan Day for seemingly wanting to kick Lou Holtz's ass?
Well, I think the main thing I got from that game is Ohio State's defense is legit. They Sam Hartman's a heck of a quarterback. They held him under 180 yards. We've heard so much about that Notre Dame running game this season. They've had excellent games against not the greatest competition, but they've been putting up numbers. They held that whole team to 170 rushing yards as a unit. So, I mean, what I took from that game is that Ohio State defense is legit. If that offense to jail, they could be scary come November.
Mhm. Mallory, anything to add to that?
I mean, I think I said it last week. I thought Florida State going into this week, and I'm sure we'll get to this game in a second, but Florida State going into last week to me was the number one team. After watching that Ohio State defense, like, nah, they're for real. And that is what Ohio State that's their bread and butter, right? Like, they're going to go in. I always thought Penn State, Ohio State was going to be a good game. Penn State, Michigan was going to be a great game, and then Michigan, Ohio State. But if that Ohio State defense shows up to either of those games, no, the rest of them can just sit back and watch Ohio State go win it.
Yeah,
Mhm.
I tend to agree. I think that was more Ohio State flexing. That was an absolutely great job by the offense. So I'll talk about their offense. Uh, maybe if we thought this was a shootout, it wasn't, but they rallied against a really good Notre Dame defense. McCord made just some dimes on that last drive, including, of course, that big third down play to get them down to the one. I thought it was a good call by Ryan Day. You got 1 second left, run the ball. Why not? Man up if you can't. It's football, big uglies. Even though they're on
Yeah.
the shotgun on the 1-2, which um, we didn't mention that in the Bama game. But yeah, let's maybe just
Yeah,
stop.
let's hey, look, that was the only horrible experience I had in Tuscaloosa was when that happened and I cheered in the middle of a Bama section. I'm real sorry, y'all.
Never
I
apologize.
got told to be quiet. It was okay.
Never
Mm.
apologize. Greg and I once got nasty looks from the Auburn players parent section because we were in the middle of it,
Oh,
unbeknownst to us,
hey, even better.
and some punk ass college kids. But yeah, no, I thought Ohio State that last drive was, like I said, I didn't get to watch much of the game. We did watch that last drive on my phone.
Mhm.
That's like a championship winning drive. Like you said, though, they got a
Yeah.
gauntlet coming up. They got Penn State, they got Michigan, they got the Big Ten championship game. They got a sneaky good Maryland team in a couple weeks. It's not going to be easy. Greg and I
Oh.
talked about it before the season. My feelings right now, we'll see when Michigan plays someone worth a damn, but Michigan is just tailor made to beat Ohio State. So if this defense can show up, though, you're right. Like maybe this is the year Ryan Day gets over that Michigan hump, and maybe the Buckeyes take it. But you also mentioned, any other thoughts on this game, y'all?
Well, Ryan Day is gonna have to get over the Lou Holtz thing. Like, look, first of all, Lou Holtz is like 900 years old. Like, let's just be completely honest. Like, he's not all there. He's smart. He's Lou Holtz. He's great. But no, Ryan Day's gonna have to like do exactly what he's gonna tell his team. It happened. Move on. He needs to do that
Mhm.
because if he doesn't do that, I'm going to take a quote from Remember the Titans attitude reflects leadership. They cannot go into this gauntlet that they're about to hit, especially with Maryland, like you just said. If he's still holding on to any of that, they're going to falter. So take what you did. Great game. You won on the road in a very, very hostile environment, even though I'm sure they all prayed for y'all before it happened. But take the win, get out, go on. Ryan, have good amnesia as a head coach. That's all I can say.
Mhm. Yeah, I think he was doing his best Kirby Smart impersonation there, inventing some
True.
boogeyman. But
Little bit.
Greg, the other, not the other, but another big game yesterday, early in the day. Florida State goes into Death Valley, overtime win over Clemson, a little comeback win.
Yeah.
So the Knowles, that was their big one. They had to go in, they had to beat the reigning kings of the ACC, and they did it. So now that we've seen them beat LSU, we've seen them survive an ugly, upset bid at Boston College, and now they've gone and beat their nemesis Clemson. Can we say the Knowles are officially back and national title contenders?
Yeah, I mean, they're definitely where they needed to be. I mean, the biggest concern was what would they do in September. I mean, of course, they easily passed the LSU test. They've got over the Clemson hump. And this one was seven losses in a row. I mean, that's something that fan base not accustomed to at all, especially the Clemson one that they dominate forever. Um, so it's been rough, but they got over that hump. Wasn't the prettiest win yesterday, but yeah, they're definitely a playoff caliber team based upon what they've done to this point. But the bad thing for them is the ACC is much better than what people thought coming into the season. They have some time, and their big games are at home. But that Duke and Miami game are going to looking much tougher at this
Mhm.
point than what they did to start the season.
For sure.
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, sorry, TD, to interrupt that, but like, honestly, I mean, Boston College on the road, 2-point win. All right, you're obviously looking ahead to Clemson, right? Like you said, they end the 7-year streak. I think the stat is out of the last 11 games, out of those, the winner of the ACC 10 times won that game. So, I mean, we're not talking like just like, oh, we're going to finish second and maybe like make it in, because let's be honest, they're not the SEC. They're not like not making the championship game and still making the playoffs. It's the ACC. So, they needed to go win that game, and I think them doing it, even if it is in overtime, like, that's a huge, huge moral victory for Florida State. Now, Miami beating Texas A&M the way they did, Duke is going to surprise some people based on what I've seen. So, no, I fully agree with you. Like, they needed that. The ACC is not as controlled as what we thought it was going to be.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and even that Florida game at the end of the season's looking a little
Yeah,
Oh,
shaky. But
because
I think we're all rooting
look, just
for.
don't send two number threes out on the field at the same time. Let's
There we
just
go.
maybe not do that, Florida. Come on, y'all.
And then I, for one, am rooting for a little Miami to run the table. I want an unbeaten Florida State Miami game.
oh yeah,
Oh,
I
hell
want I
yeah.
want that 1995 throwback, 92 throwback.
that fit
But
of the
Dude,
night.
but
Yeah.
what is Dion gonna do if that happens? Can you imagine? I'm
ooh,
pretty sure all of our heads just exploded thinking about that, but like Dion is going to lose his mind if that happens.
no, but yeah, Greg,
Mhm.
you mentioned it too. The ACC looking pretty stout. I mean, we haven't even talked about North Carolina and Duke
Right.
both being unbeaten as well. So yeah, it's going to be a gauntlet for all the teams in that league. Uh,
Yeah, they.
but speaking of Dion,
Mm.
woof. So Greg and I have talked about this in the preview, and then after first couple big wins. We said we really won't know who the Buffs are until they play Oregon and USC. Well, they played Oregon yesterday in Alton Stadium. It didn't really go well for them. Their offensive line was exposed. Their defense, which we already knew was kind of shaky, was very much extremely shaky. And then we saw how important Travis Hunter is to that team. So I don't know who wants to take this first. Yeah, what do we? Obviously, the media was excited about the Coach Prime story and all that, so maybe a little overhyped. But is how much do we temper it? That's my question. How much do we temper our expectations now? How much do we turn them back?
All
So,
right.
Well,
Okay. No, go for it, Greg. I want to hear it.
well, if you're, if you're a big college football fan, I don't think too many people had expectations for yesterday. I mean, I personally, it was kind of what I expected. I didn't think it was going to be quite that bad. I knew that Oregon was going to win the game and it was going to be in convincing fashion. I think I was most surprised just I thought maybe Colorado would score a little bit more. Um, I think Shador Sanders is a heck of a quarterback, and they just struggled. And we've had questions about that offensive line all season, and they've given up quite a few sacks to lesser teams, and Oregon took full advantage of that. But I don't think you really. I mean, that's a game. If you're a football fan at all, you there was no expectation. Maybe it was a little worse than what some people thought, but I think going forward, it's how they respond from their first defeat of the season. I mean, they've been the talk of the season. They've, 3-0. I mean, so much improved from last year's team. And at the same time, I mean, a lot of these folks they've only been together 3 and 4 months. They're still gelling as a team. So
No, so I think you make a good point on that, in that they are still gelling, and you're going to talk about like upcoming, right? We'll talk about that in a second, but you can't discount what Oregon's been doing. Like, everybody's focused on USC, but Oregon has a good core crew there. We're not going to talk about Bo Nix and how many years he's been playing football, because bless his heart, he's like giving Stetson Bennett a run for his money on that one. But that's still a group that's gelled, and they are there, and they're a brotherhood, and they've been through everything they can go through, adversity, all of that. And so, I mean, you take out Travis Hunter, which I'm on my podcast, I said you can't have a kid playing 117 snaps more than 3 games in a row. That's not physically possible. Like, there are reasons that even marathon runners drop down to weeks where they only run maybe 20 total miles a week, because your body can't handle that. Plus, you got to go to class, you got to do all that in the meantime. So I think I'm not as surprised about it as the media, quote unquote, was. But I think if you follow college football and you understand anything about physicality, like, no, I'm not surprised it happened.
no, and I'm with y'all. I too. I didn't, wasn't placing any bets out of in case, and like y'all, I thought maybe Shador and that offense might pull a few more points out there, but Oregon's they're a bad team, man. There's some
yeah,
bad dudes on that team. Dan Lanning has brought a toughness to Eugene that they've never really had before. And yeah, Mal, you talked about like more people should be talking about the Ducks. We
yeah.
talk about USC. We talk about Washington on this podcast, and they deserve to be talked about as well. There's going to be. It's a shame. I mean, we're watching maybe the best Pac-12 season in 2 decades. I can't remember the last time
Yes.
Pac-12 had this many good teams, and now it's going away. I need
Right.
somebody somewhere to do something to save this conference.
Yeah.
We need this, but yeah, that's
Yeah.
not surprising at the result. I think looking forward for the Buffs, Greg and I, after that TCU win, we looked at their schedule, said, can they get to bowl wins? They still have, obviously USC. We'll talk about that. They still have to go at UCLA, Oregon State, at Wazoo, and at Utah. That's
Mm.
tough, tough, tough. And then additionally, Arizona State, Stanford, and Arizona. So if they can steal those 3 wins, and that's 6 right there. So do we think that we can automatically say 6-6? Do we just all right? Here you go. Just real quick before we move on next game. Greg, are they making a bowl?
It's gonna be tough. At this point, there's no margin of error. You know, but 6-6 is definitely possible. Those last 3, I mean, they should beat Stanford. Arizona State's so up and down. Who knows?
Yeah.
And then Arizona, I mean, they're improving. It's gonna be tough, but I mean, it's gonna come down to I think that last week of them. But I think that they'll be definitely in the hunt for that bowl eligibility come the end of the season.
Mal, yes or no? Bowl?
I think they do, and I think you look at Arizona, just like Greg said, like they take Mississippi State to overtime. That's a whole thing, right? Because nobody comes into the SEC and does that, but they did it. But I think here's going to be the kicker. You can be a sub 500 team and still make a bowl game.
That's true.
And I think they're the team that if there is a sub 500 team that does it, it's them, because it's Dion. He's gonna he'll give you free sunglasses. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, you're gonna come in, you'll get some new sponsors. But yeah, I think they do make a bowl game, and I think they do it though, like surprising a couple of people, because they're gonna have some guys step up, and he's gonna find a way to like inspire them. Same way some of the Cowboys teams he played on maybe shouldn't have gone as far as they did, but they did.
Just throwing Cowboy shade.
I threw that out there as a Giants fan. I just threw that out there. Sorry, guys.
Fight when we come to the NFL section. It's gonna be fun for me.
Sorry, y'all.
Oh, hey, I'm not a Cowboy fan. I'm good. But let's stay out west real quick. Couple of other ranked matchups. Utah beat UCLA in an ugly one. But the Utah defense did to freshman QB Dante Moore what the Utah defense does to freshman QBs. No Cam Rising still, but as long as Utah's winning, I don't think they mind him resting up. I don't think there's really much to say about a 14-7 game there.
No, but does Cam Rising play? So here's my question, because we're literally 4 weeks in now. Does he play?
Interesting.
And their defense is their team. So I don't know. I don't know what that's going to look like, but that's my big question. And looking at them is, does he play? And if he does he truly make a big enough difference? Or is he so far out that the receivers and the O-line can't gel with him?
I mean, I think if he can, you have to play him. I think he's a big difference maker on that offense. We know the defense is there for him. We're not worried about their defense.
Yeah.
That offense needs to score more points.
Because they have to go at USC, at Washington. Yeah, at some point they're going to have to put up more than 14, 17 points to get a win, even with that good of a defense.
It starts Friday. They're going at Oregon State, Speaking of which, Oregon State lost to Washington State and Pullman in the Pac-2 title game. Wazoo, speaking of, all these quarterbacks in this, Cam Ward, boy, he had a day.
Yes.
Over 400 yards passing, torched that Beaver defense. Pullman continues to be the Lubbock, the Columbia of the Pac-12. They, it's just not an easy place to play. And Washington State putting themselves on the map is like, hey man, we're not going down without a fight.
Right.
They might play spoiler to some of these big teams.
Look, I'm here for it. Somebody needs to, right? Because like you guys were talking about, like I said to begin with, like the Pac 12 to me is the best storyline in college football this year. You watch them because you have Dion, right? Like that's totally the obvious. But then you have the Utahs, you have USC, you have your like Heisman Trophy winner. He's still in it. So how do you handle that? But now you have literally the Pac 2, and they're like, F you. They went and filed some court cases that they were like, yeah, y'all can't have a meeting. Even with us in it, you can't have a meeting. So I'm kind of enjoying the like political side behind it a little bit, but I'm also enjoying the like that's easy bulletin board material. Like that's so easy. So I'm digging it.
Yeah, it was a good game. Oregon State furious comeback attempt in the fourth quarter.
Yeah, yeah.
Um,
Yeah. And really, going into that, it was kind of the under under the radar great game of the Saturday. I mean, everyone's talking, of course, Colorado, Oregon, Alabama, Ole Miss, Notre Dame, and Ohio State. But I mean, that was a heck of a game. I mean, great comeback there. I mean, DJU versus Cam Ward. I mean, it was a good quarterback matchup, and they really lived up. It was honestly outside that Bama game, probably my favorite game of the weekend. But
hmm. Um, yeah. Moving on to, I think, the only other ranked matchup we haven't talked about. Penn State easily defeated Iowa 31 nothing. Iowa's offense continues to be Iowa's offense. Penn State looks like they have a quarterback. Drew Aller
yep.
is legit. The Nittany Lions slowly just handling their business on their schedule this year. They might make some noise themselves as a team. We're about a month out from their big one going into coming here to Columbus. Um, any thoughts on that for y'all, Penn State?
uh, Penn State's just handling business. I mean, they're my team to come out the Big Ten as my pick, and so far they're living up to the hype. Drew Aller handling. I mean, to score. I mean, we know how good that Iowa defense is, and they put up 31. So I mean, I was impressed with that.
Hmm.
So I mean, I feel like the Iowa offense is what we expect, right? Like Kirk Ferentz has been there for 100 years at this point. I mean, I'm like, I have no idea how old the dude is, but he was coming out of the womb coaching Iowa at this point. So, uh, Penn State was my dark horse for this league, and I think they're showing it because when you take a step back and you look at James Franklin, like when James Franklin was at Vanderbilt, James Franklin at Vanderbilt challenged people in a way that Vanderbilt never, honest to God, had. So you take that and you give him a team and a name that can have notoriety and go recruit, and you end up with a current Penn State. So I'm with you on this one, Greg. Like, don't be surprised if Penn State ends up beating a Michigan, an Ohio State. Now it may go to overtime. It may be by 1 point, a 2 point conversion versus a not making an extra point kind of thing. But I'm not gonna. I'm totally not gonna be surprised when it happens. Like they're gonna, they're gonna mess somebody's dreams up, and I'm here for it. I really liked them.
Hmm. Yeah. Moving on, let's wrap up. Let's see other notable scores. Let's go down to SECR conference. LSU and Arkansas had themselves a fight. Um,
Yeah.
LSU wins it late field goal. Um, but interesting, yeah. Arkansas showing a little heart after losing to BYU last week. LSU looking a little bit more mortal after destroying Mississippi State last week. Jaden Daniels had another just outstanding game. 320 and another 4 touchdowns to the air. Um, yeah, we'll talk about LSU in a second. We'll get to them. Elsewhere, let's see. Georgia took care of business against UAB. Another kind of a slowish start. Tennessee took out UTSA. Florida, not extremely impressive against Charlotte. A&M and Auburn played a football game. We'll call it that. Yeah, it's loosely defined anyway. Um, Kentucky, speaking of under the radar teams,
Oh
um,
man.
and we will talk about them in a second too. They beat Vandy. Mal's pick, I believe you went 3-0 in the picks column yesterday. Missouri
I
just
did.
covering against Memphis and
Yeah.
South Kakalaki bouncing back from their loss to Georgia and surviving nearly 500 yards passing from Will Rogers to beat uh, State and Columbia. Um, yeah, anything else that happened yesterday you guys want to touch on before we move to next week?
So I think
Um.
oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, go ahead.
No, as I say, my only thing is Mississippi State, like Will Rogers, y'all bless his heart. If he's on any other team in the SEC, that man is winning the damn Heisman.
Hmm.
I hate it for him, right?
Mm.
You hate to see Mike Leach die. Like,
Mhm.
nobody likes that, but Will's not in the right system for him.
Mm-mm.
You can't throw for that many yards and still lose by 7. Like, you just can't do it. Not to the South Carolina team that we all watched week 1 and we have no idea who they truly, honest to God, are because they have no idea who they are. I'm sorry, Will Rogers. I love you except on Thanksgiving Day, and then we'll figure it all out after that. So,
It's gonna be a long.
Greg,
I think it's gonna be a long season to start.
yeah,
You know, just passing Mike Leach is gonna be a big thing to overcome for them. But you know, I was kind of shocked at how well Arkansas played in Baton Rouge. Uh, that was one that I didn't really think was gonna be much of a game, considering how they looked against, well, how they ended the game against BYU. But it is a rivalry game, and I know Arkansas takes it seriously. Still wish it was on Thanksgiving weekend. It's still weird that it's so early, but I was impressed with their effort there. But yeah, that LSU offense is scary.
it is.
thanks. That's who we play next weekend. I appreciate that. Like, I'm not looking forward to it.
It's a seamless transition, y'all. Seamless. Let's talk about it. The Tigers go into Vaught Hemingway next week. Little evening game. ESPN. Ole Miss will try to bounce back from their first loss. LSU will try to keep their momentum rolling. Mao, you're the resident rebel. Um, let's see. What are we opening at here? Let me go back to this. Right now,
Oof.
LSU -2.5. So Vegas is even saying they
Oh,
don't really know. So what do you
oh,
think? Do you think you guys can win? How confident are you can pull the upset?
look, I think we can because I think we went into Baton Rouge last year and we thought we had it and we didn't. And so I think Jackson Dart learned a big lesson last year. I think Quinshon Judkins learned a big lesson last year. And I think you put them in Vaught Hemingway where our students, the first 2 home games of the season, have set records for student section attendance. Um, Last week we talked like we've never seen an out of conference game like that except for when Texas came in. And so if we're playing Georgia Tech and having that many fans in attendance, pull it in with LSU. Like, we're ready. Also, Emerald Lagasse's daughter is a Kappa pledge, along with Lane Kiffin's daughter, Landry. So I feel like maybe the Cajun is turning a little hotty toddy on us.
Oh,
But no, like outside of that, like I think we honest to God have it. We came out of Bama pretty healthy. Didn't have the best game plan there, but I think we can learn. Arkansas showed us a lot, especially going into Baton Rouge. So I'm confident.
there you go.
Don't quote me on that though. Like come Sunday, I may be like, oh crap, y'all. That was I just walked out of Tuscaloosa alive, and I felt really really good. So I have no idea.
Greg, can they do it? And what do they need to do it?
Well, I think it's a new week. It's gonna be a home game. We know the rivalry there. Do they do it? It's gonna be tough, but I think Lane is gonna call a much better game. I think they're gonna look better because he overthinks the Alabama game so much. He wants to be Nick so bad. It's his one. It's his big thing, and he looks so much different in every other game and in every other situation. So I don't think you can really compare because it's a completely different situation. I think we're gonna be in for a classic game. I think it's gonna be a high scoring back and forth, and some that's gonna come down to who doesn't turn the ball over and maybe who has the ball last. But I expect a good one.
Yeah, it should be a fun watch. I think the big thing for me, I think Ole Miss has to find a way to get knock Daniels off his rhythm, and you want to put pressure on him, but you can't let him beat you with his legs. Then, and they have to find a way to shut down those receivers, or at least do something to disrupt that rhythm between them and Jaden Daniels. They're
Yeah.
two just that's a classic LSU. We've got just two big time playmakers at receiver.
All right. So here's my oh crap, Mal's had a whole day to like think this through prediction. Back in the day, Patrick Willis with the big club, we all remember him like driving the quarterback like off his feet, back down, like we went there, right? We have a kid this year. He is the next Patrick Willis, but he is the first Suntarine Perkins, true freshman out of the state of Mississippi. We kept him home. And even yesterday at Bama, he put so much pressure on Jalen Milroe. And like, you mean to tell me you're going to go into that environment and you're going to like put pressure on the quarterback as a true freshman? I think we see the next emergence of the new Suntarine or the next Patrick Willis, whatever you want to call him. But I think he's going to be that difference maker of that middle linebacker. He's not going to just always be at middle linebacker though. He's going to move and he can do it because he doesn't have that like sophomore year bulk on him, so he's still fast. So I'm interested to watch him next week against LSU. It's going to be fun.
Is he the one that got the hit on Jalen on the QB? That was
He
another good
is.
hit, square hit.
He is. That is
Um,
him. True
but
freshman, y'all.
but speaking of Perkins and linebackers, there's one on the
Mm.
Tiger side of the ball that Lane is going to have to figure out a way to keep him off of Jackson Dart's rear end, or else we might see
Yes.
Spencer Sanders or any number of
Oof.
other quarterbacks because Harold Perkins,
Oof.
LSU finally remembered what he does best, and that is chase the ball and the quarterback. No more dumb first week LSU or Florida State stuff where they're trying to turn him into a middle linebacker. I guess they're
Well,
moving
so
him
this is
about.
where no, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No,
No,
that
you're
was it.
wrong. You're
That
not
was
wrong.
finished.
Like, no, he is because dude, he is so good. And like you cannot forget about him because LSU is always gonna have that defensive player that like it doesn't matter. Patrick Peterson, like all of those guys, like LSU has that lineage there. But we have Walker Howard. We know what they're thinking. So we'll take that.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It's going to be a good one. Is that the CBS game next week? No, it's
That's
6 o'clock.
It's not.
ESPN.
It's the 5 p.m. Yeah.
Oh, we're
Which
yes.
getting.
y'all pray for my liver next week. That's all I can say. Because LSU game at Ole Miss is always fun. But yeah,
Will you be in attendance?
always.
Always.
If it's an Ole Miss home game, and as long as I don't have COVID, I am there. So
Yes, there
yeah.
you go. Yeah, the CBS game is the Georgia Auburn, which I'm sure will be a close affair and not at all.
I'm sure.
Not at all a
Can't wait.
snuff film broadcast nationally. Alabama, we mentioned earlier, they play the other Mississippi team. They hope to silence Cowbells. I think the trending wise, which the direction these two teams are trending, that should be not easy. Of course, it's never easy in the SEC, but this is the part of the schedule Alabama can try to get right, fix some
Oh, yeah.
things before. Like Greg said, before we go into College Station, this is the time to tighten the ship.
Mhm.
Stay healthy, of course, is your big thing, and
And score a first half touchdown, please.
yeah, that'd be great. That would be great. That would be
Yeah, y'all
spectacular.
got this. I'm
That's
not worried
that's
about y'all on that one.
that's the late night
It's
ESPN game.
yeah, what
8
like 8 p.m.
Yeah, it follows the LSU Ole Miss matchup. So yeah, run the ball, get Jalen some more rhythm, and stay healthy. Like I said, big games next week. We mentioned Colorado will host the Trojans of USC. I do think they can fare a lot better against USC than Oregon. Not everybody has that Oregon toughness, and we all know the USC defense is shaky at best. Um, can best be described as maybe intramural level. Um, I think that'll be the shootout we kind of want to see. I'm not sure that they can, with that offensive line just being shaky, depending on Travis Hunter's health. I don't know if they can pull the upset, but that's also one that wouldn't surprise me.
Yeah, the upset, probably not. But after watching Arizona State hang around with them and really put up quite the game, considering what Arizona State's been to this point of the season, definitely a hope for Colorado to stay around, especially in Boulder.
Yeah, but that's going to be a packed
A
house,
rock.
and it doesn't matter. One loss is not going to curtail that excitement there in Boulder.
Yeah, so I think kind of that's the interesting part is you don't have game day. You don't really have that whole hype around it. So what does Dion do? How does he get his team fired up? I think USC comes in. I mean, they just Zachariah, that kid, y'all, like he made Caleb Williams look like a damn superstar, even though he won the Heisman. Like the two of them together, without Travis Hunter, I don't know that defense can stop them.
No, the defense can't stop them. Neither defense is going to stop much. It's going to be
True.
which offense makes a mistake, and you probably lean toward the offensive line of Colorado letting down Shador
Yeah.
Sanders. Yeah, no, Zachariah is. This might be sacrilege to say, especially for I don't know. Mal, I'm not going to ask you your age. I'm a proper Southern gentleman, but Greg and I were of the Reggie Bush era. And,
Oh, yes, me too. Don't
okay,
worry.
okay,
I'm there
good.
with you. I
So yeah,
love Reggie Bush. He deserves his Heisman back. Let's just throw that out there.
oh,
Thank you.
absolutely. Okay, good. We're friends. Okay, cool. But yeah, it is sacrilege to say, but that is Reggie Bush reincarnate out there in LA.
Yes,
Some of the
he
things
This
is.
he's
He
doing.
absolutely is.
goodness.
Yeah.
Just don't date a Kardashian kid. Like, let's just throw that out there. Like, no, don't go there, y'all. No.
Stay out of it.
Hey, and don't have Taylor Swift show up at your game either. Just
Oh,
saying that too.
yeah, we'll get to that. Um, we already mentioned too. Elsewhere out west, Oregon State trying to bounce back. They host Utah on Friday. Again, we'll see if Cam Rising comes back for that. Which this might be a game where they need him.
Yeah.
Um, but
Yeah, you're not wrong.
another banger of a
Corvallis,
Pac-12 matchup. Yeah.
Corvallis is another spot that weird things
Mm-hmm.
happen in Corvallis, and they're
True.
gonna be they're gonna be rocking. All eyes will be on Corvallis. It's their time to shine.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah,
I
it's
don't know
another.
though. Utah seems to have the like juju headed their way a little bit. Like they've kind of pulled it through every time. I don't know. I feel Utah on this one.
They do, but I think we talked about in our Pac-12 preview that it's for all the, they're back-to-back Pac-12 champions, but they also can't seem to get over that like 9-3, 10-2 hump. So they gotta. This is
True.
one of those games for them. I think they have to. This is where you prove it.
True.
Let's see a couple other ranked matchups. Let's see Notre Dame visiting Duke. I never thought that we'd be saying that as a hyped-up football game.
but I mean that's a tricky one for the Irish.
Hmm
Coming off that emotional loss, and Duke is gonna be ready to go. Durham is gonna be pretty crazy to think that out of the out of Coach K's court that there be a this much excitement in Durham, but they're gonna be ready, and they have the atmosphere they had in the Clemson game. Watch out, Notre Dame. It's gonna be serious.
Yeah, if Notre Dame can't bounce back, then Duke takes advantage. But I just kind of feel like Notre Dame's depth. Like, I hate it for Duke. I would love to see them do it. Daniel Jones. I'm a Giants fan. Like, I kind of want to see Duke, you know, that whole thing. But no, I think Notre Dame takes this one. They just have too much.
Hmm. Game day, that is where game day will be in Durham. First ever time for a
Oh,
football
nice.
game. So that'll be a hype primetime ABC matchup. Uh, Texas and Kansas, believe it or not, is a ranked matchup. Um,
Texas is gonna beat that ass. I'm just throwing that one out there. Sorry, guys.
it is in Austin, which definitely should. But we all know that hasn't saved Texas before. Uh,
You're not wrong.
they've gotten rock
Ole
chalked
Miss went
before.
in and beat them there. So yeah,
That's
no,
true. In
no.
a
I think
game
I
that,
just.
oh no, go ahead, finish
Oh,
that.
go ahead. I'm sorry. No, no, no. You go ahead.
No, I
No,
was
no,
going to
no.
go to the
You've
next
got
game.
it.
I was going on the next one, so you go ahead,
Or
finish real quick.
oh no, I just feel like Texas. Like Texas has it. Like they're too good right now.
Yeah, no,
End of story.
they're a
Yeah.
legit good team. So many weapons. Yeah, I don't think Kansas really stands a chance, but you never know. And a game that should be between two ranked teams, but isn't somehow because no one is respecting the Wildcats. But Florida and Kentucky face off, and I believe that one's in Lexington. It is at
Yeah, that
noon.
is, and like
Hmm.
that's gonna be a fun one. Kentucky, what is it? They're going for what their third one in a row over Florida. Crazy to
Hmm.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
And this,
Look, they can
I
do
mean,
it too.
oh yeah, they definitely can. 'Cause what Florida team's gonna show up is the big thing. Do we see the one from 2 weeks ago, or the rest of the season? It's been very ho hum.
hmm.
True.
Yeah, and like I said, Kentucky, I don't know how they're not ranked. I think they deserve to be ranked. They're 4-0. They taking care of their business. Uh, they started a little against Eastern Kentucky the second weekend of the year, but
Hmm.
they're looking like a Stoops coached Kentucky team,
Yeah.
um, and they are offense isn't great, um, yardage wise, but points wise they're top 30. Devin Leary has been a great pickup for them, transfer portal. Ray Davis is running the ball well for them. I think Florida's in trouble. Um,
Yeah.
and that is it
Agreed.
that I have on my list for next week. So unless y'all have objections, I think we can move on real quick to the NFL today. A weird, wild Sunday in the NFL, highlighted by Tua and the Dolphins dropping 70 on the Denver Broncos. I repeat, 70 in an NFL game. Um, I don't know how the Denver Broncos have not been relegated to the USFL yet, because that's embarrassing. 70. Um, feel bad for the couple of Bama guys on that team. Um,
First time since 1963 an NFL team has scored 70. 1963. I have a parent who is younger than that. I'm just throwing that out there. So,
uh, did it with no Jalen Waddle. Did it running the ball, and I mean in passing they had what over 700 total yards.
yeah.
100 total yards. And Devon Achane, the rookie, whew,
Oh yeah,
200.
mhm, out of A&M showing his speed. Yeah, it's time that we take the Dolphins seriously. If Tua stays healthy, that is a Super Bowl contender. Full stop. Um,
So here's the stat. Here's the stat. Blah blah blah. That's really hard at almost 10 o'clock at night when I need to go to bed, and that's not almost 10. It's 9. Anyway, it's been a long day with dogs by myself. Russell Wilson 306 yards total. Tua 309 yards total. So is the Denver defense that bad? Yes. Yes, they are. Yes, they are, y'all.
Apparently so. Yeah. Um, even with a
No,
couple studs on there,
Yeah,
Patrick Surtain's one of the best shutdown corners in the league, but
I know. It's hard.
mm,
the only good thing going for the Denver right now is their next game after what the bye week will be the Bears. So
there you go.
Oh, oh God.
The cure for what ails any NFL team. Who did they get embarrassed by today? Kansas City. Oh yeah,
the
our
city.
boy Travis Kelsey with his. Is this a love interest thing? I mean, I don't really care, but is Taylor Swift a thing? Is
The
she
his
gonna
new
write a song about him after they break up?
Probably.
Okay, and that does it for Taylor Swift talk on this podcast. Moving
Thank God.
on. It was a day of upsets. Real quick, not good for teams on taking on sports. The Ravens lose to the Colts at home, just shooting themselves in the foot left and right. Um,
But he missed a field goal that like it was perfect. It just didn't have the length. Like another 2 yards, another 6 feet, and we don't even go to overtime. Like that's the hard part of it all.
Yeah, Justin Tucker missing a field goal is newsworthy in itself, but 61 yards. I'm imagining there was some wind involved there.
Yeah.
Um, I actually didn't get to see it. I saw bits and pieces, but I did see that there was a pretty bad missed pass interference call, I believe, in overtime that would have put the
Correct.
kept the
it
Ravens
was.
drive going. It was, yeah. Um,
Are these ACC refs going to the NFL? Just asking for a friend.
uh, um, elsewhere, Greg, your Cowboys, after looking like Super Bowl serious, maybe even favorites first couple weeks, the Cardinals out of nowhere just kind of dominate that game today.
Dominated the game from the start. It was ugly. Once again, last year our big thing was we couldn't stop the running game, and the
Hmm.
Cardinals, out of all teams, ran all over us. James Conner,
Hmm.
huge day. You know, I guess even though it wouldn't have really affected anything today, I guess Trayvon Diggs being out for the season hurt us a lot more than we thought.
Yeah. So that's a big loss going forward.
It
Real
is.
surprising, especially after y'all shut down that Jets rushing attack last week.
Yeah, you would have thought if anybody was going to run on first, it would have been them. But
Hmm.
I think it's just a matter of, we had a lot of people out, but at the same time, it's one of those games maybe you're not up for. You're feeling yourselves. You've heard how good you guys are.
Hmm.
So it's just one of those games I think you just move on from and get on to the next week.
Yeah. Um,
Yeah, I'm a Giants fan, so y'all kicked our ass week one. I have no words. Like I hate it, but yeah.
yeah. And then Thursday, y'all, of course, the 49ers do what the 49ers do. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah, that's about all you can say on that. That's our, we're thinking too hard thing. The Chiefs and the Niners are probably they're our Super Bowl favorites right now. Um, and they're playing like another upset today, like, of sorts at least. Texans get the first win of the D'Amico Ryans era. C.J. Stroud gets his first win, beating the Jaguars, beating them up
But
in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
by
I was
20 on.
shocked.
Hmm.
Yeah, that one to me that one was different because Jacksonville's going to win the AFC South.
Hmm.
But this is the game that keeps them without a bye, and they could have had a bye, and that's where I think like they're going to regret this later in the season.
Hmm. Let's see. Elsewhere, Chargers get their first win of the year. Um, Packers come back, score 18 in the fourth to beat the
The
Saints at
fourth.
home.
Yeah.
Um, Patriots get their first win of the year. Um, the Bills finally look like the Bills, beating up on Washington. Um, yeah, I think that's really, Seahawks win. Chargers win. I think I just said that. Yeah, the Lions win, Browns
Yeah.
win. Pretty
You know,
home right.
it's kind of, I say
Go
it's
ahead.
kind of shocking that, we've always questioned if Minnesota can ever get, we know how good they are offensively, but now they're 0-3.
Mm,
Well, that's tough for this team. I still think a lot of expectations to make the playoffs, and Justin Jefferson having a heck of a season, and it doesn't matter.
mhm. Um, and as we speak, looks like the Steelers are up 9 on the Raiders in
Yeah.
Sunday Night Football. Um, but yeah, I mean it's early. What's it, week 3 in the NFL? Um,
Yeah,
Um,
it's too early to really know things. We another Super Bowl contender slash favorite Eagles play tomorrow night. As do the Bengals, I guess, trying to win
mhm.
their first game of the year. Um,
Is Joe Burrow good enough tomorrow night? Is
uh,
is that where we're at? I don't think he is.
is he playing tomorrow night? I think is yeah. That's
Yeah.
yeah. It's the question that my fantasy team wants to know.
yeah,
But yeah, no, yeah, it's weird. It's the NFL. You have your upset Sundays like this. It's weird. You don't want
yeah.
your team to lose to the Cardinals or the Colts with Gardner Minshew, but you go on.
Remember, good thing to think about the Chiefs lost to the Colts last year
That's true. Yeah,
in the
with
season. Everybody like, what in the world?
Matt Ryan at that.
Yeah, that was
Oh,
one of the only wins of the season.
Yeah. Any other NFL thoughts you want to get in?
no, so my only NFL thought is that I've been watching, or I watched Kelsey on
Mhm.
Amazon Prime. If you really want to know what it's like to be an NFL offensive lineman, watch Kelsey, because those dudes are the total unsung heroes. Like, yeah, you see all the quarterbacks, the receivers, the running backs, hell, even the defensive guys. The offensive linemen of the NFL, like, they're the true winners of it all. So I think it's a good perspective from that side, especially when you have your brother who's probably the best tight end. Dawson Knox is going to give him a run for his money, but no, I think it's a good show, and it was a good insight into all of that, because talking about the 49ers, like, they wouldn't beat the 49ers to make it to the Super Bowl last year. So don't count out the Eagles. Like,
Mhm.
they're always going to make a run. So yeah, good show.
Yeah. Elsewhere, let's see. It's stretch time. Major League Baseball. Um, it looks like we got a hell of a finish in the AL West coming up. Um,
Yeah, we do.
the Rangers have taken back the lead in the division by 2.5 over Houston. Seattle's still there, 3 back. The O's and Rays in the AL East are battling it out. They've both clinched playoff spots. Um, the Twins have clinched the Central. Um, and then it looks like, I guess, we pretty much know our wild card teams, I would assume, too. Yeah. So, oh no, Toronto is still in there. So one of either the O's, no, one of Toronto, Houston, or Seattle will not make the playoffs. Um, it's a little more
And I
open
think we
than,
found out today what the Yankees aren't making.
yeah,
They're out.
they are
They're
officially
done.
eliminated.
First time since 2016, and is Brian Cashman fired yet? That's all I want to know.
I mean, he will be within the next like 3 hours, I feel
Uh,
like.
he could have been fired 10 years ago, but that's just me.
uh, resident Yankee fan chiming in with his thoughts. What about Aaron?
Yikes.
What about Aaron Boone? The
Gotta go.
Okay,
Just
there we go.
gotta
Greg
go.
says it is time for a regime change.
He
Yeah,
said bye.
It has been, what has it been, 2 decades now since the Yankees World Series? No, they got one, but
we got
around
one in
the
09,
09.
2009 one.
Mm-hmm.
And we reached the pinnacle last year, and Marlins hard this year, but
Mhm.
time to make
Yeah.
some big changes.
Mm. Over in the NL, the wild card race is a little more open ended. There are still 7 teams vying for 3 spots. The Phillies look like a pretty good lock. They have a 5 game cushion there, um, and they are on a 5 game winning streak, so they're getting hot again at the right time. Um, let's see. The Braves, of course, clinched another NL East title. Um, I would just personally say, as a Braves fan, we really just look. Ronald Acuna is your MVP. Mookie's had a great year. That's great. It's Ronald Acuna. He's doing things nobody's ever done before. Give that man his flowers. Give him that MVP trophy. Um, Mal,
For
you have a
sure.
team?
So I'm an Orioles fan, and it's only because I've gone to a game at their place,
Most
sat in the
beautiful
front
stadium.
row. It's
Most
the whole
beautiful
thing.
stadium in the league. There's no
It
shame in that.
is, y'all.
I grew up going
Whew,
to Camden Yards.
God, it's beautiful.
It
So I
is.
have my black and white Orioles cap that I wear, and my boss is an Orioles fan, so I've kind of like
Nice.
picked them back up. But the White Sox have drafted a ton of Ole Miss players the last few years. So watching them come through, like the Birmingham Barons, I have to
Yeah.
kind of go with that. But no, I'm going to go with the Orioles this year.
Ace Joe's and Natty Bowes' Magic down in Camden Yards, honey, on Utah Street. Um, no, it's great. I do wish that I could still root for my hometown team, but as long as an Angelos owns that team, I can't do it.
I
I
get
think
it.
maybe you have to grow up in Baltimore to understand that, but yeah. Um, let's see. The Brewers, they have clinched the Central out there. The Dodgers did clinch the West. Should be a fun finish. Anything else in the world of sports you guys want to touch on before we go?
Oh,
Let's see. I'm
no,
looking.
I feel like the WNBA is wrapping up right now. That's going
Mhm.
to be kind of fun. I think there are a lot of good superstars. The good thing about the WNBA is they are getting a lot of the good college stars. They're coming out. The college fans are finally starting to follow them the same way they do in football and in baseball and in men's basketball. So I think that's going to be a cool little thing to watch over the next few years as to how the WNBA grows. But I mean, really, right now we're heading into October, like a sports fan's dream, right?
Mhm.
Like college football, NFL, Major League Baseball. We can't ask for anything better. So, yeah, I'm kind of pumped to see how the next few weeks go.
Yeah, right
Yep.
around the corner. NBA is on the horizon.
Mhm.
I'm sure we'll hear maybe those Dame and James Harden talk ramping back up for the off the court stuff. Um, let's see. I'm looking at the headlines just real quick. Megan Rapinoe, of course, officially retired from all of soccer, or just the international.
She's done. She's done. And I feel like I
Done.
just need to throw my arms up in honor of her. She and Julie Ertz,
Hmm.
Zach Ertz's wife. Zach had a great game today. Sorry, against your Cowboys. I'm real bad to say that, but I'm sorry. But she said it's not that Mama can't play. Mama can play. Mama just needs to go home and take care of her babies and do her family things. So, Julie Ertz, Megan Rapinoe, they're out. I get it. Let them go. Let them go do their next thing. So it's gonna be fun to watch that.
Oh
Yeah,
yeah.
as we enter a new era in the U.S. team.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, I think that's it for anything notable. Just searching real quick. Don't see any big headlines. Nothing. We said no movement on any crazy off-season trades in NBA. Like I said, it's October. It's football and baseball playoff time. So with that said, of course, it is done up real good time. So Mallory, as our guest, we will let you go first. What's been done up real good for you this week?
Man, I'll be honest. For me, what's been done up real good is I think my first time back in Tuscaloosa since 2017. I was there in 2015 when Ole Miss won. Um, but this weekend being there, I had multiple people stop me and say, "Hey, welcome to campus. We're glad you're here." It felt like the college football we all know and love of, look, we don't care who you cheer for, just come have a good time. And I think that's what we're all here for. So yeah, I'm going to go with that.
Great. Greg?
Also, go to
Well,
Hill Auburn and Tennessee.
Oh, yeah. We'll drink to that.
always. I would probably just say I was excited with Alabama's second half yesterday. um, feel much better than I did the last 2 weekends, and I think we're headed in the right direction. So I'm excited. How about you?
It just a shout out to the weather. We're getting actual fall weather. I know I'm up here in Ohio, so it's a little cooler, but even looking back at Birmingham's weather, it still seems nice and cool. Um, and then in a weird one, it's going to sound bad, but when I FaceTime my kid the other night, I was actually out at a restaurant getting dinner, so I had to cut it off short. And my wife texted me shortly after that said, as soon as we hung up, he started crying, which is sad, but a little bit happy because I guess he's reached a stage now where he can recognize things. And so
Aw.
I'll be happy to see him again in a couple of days when I return. But yeah, that's it. Folks, we thank you for listening. As always, you can find us and other great podcasts on the Alabama Take Network and family of podcasts. For instance, Mallory, do you have a podcast?
I do. It's called The Stare Down. So if you want to listen to me ramble on about all the random shit I talk about, you're more than welcome to find us there.
That's great. Wherever you get your podcast, of course. And
Absolutely.
subscribe to us, subscribe to her, give us these good ratings, tell your friends, tell your rich friends, as we always say. We would love to do this for some Skrilla. You can find us. Let's shout out, of course, taking it down. We are taking on sports. We don't need to shout out ourselves. Taking it down at the Alabama Slam, of course. Check your shelf. This song sucks. We are a Star War. We are rolling in deep in the podcast. It is a great time to be an Alabama taker. Of course, every Friday you can check out Blaine, myself, and Mallory doing our picks. I mentioned she was 3-0 yesterday. Who
Nice.
did you have for your NFL pick today?
I have Philly tomorrow night.
Okay, so maybe a 4-0 week on your horizon. I think I
Look, I
finished.
need something good.
Yeah, that's true. I think I finished 2-2. BYU let me down, and then I had the Cowboys today, so
Yeah,
that went.
and poor Blaine picked Ole Miss. I'm like, dude, don't pick Ole Miss. Like, what part do you not get? Don't do it.
Blaine had a rough day.
Real quick. So talking about picks, hear this one out.
Uh-oh.
So I threw together a 16-team parlay yesterday, right?
No.
But I got one push because Rutgers got the plus 24, but it pushed it to 24, so it's down to 15 teams.
Mm-hmm.
Came down to the Minnesota Northwestern game, had Minnesota on the money line, up 31-10 in the fourth quarter, losing overtime.
Oh.
They did. They did.
Only thing I missed on the 15-team parlay.
Oh.
Oh,
Oh. That is. Oh, rest in peace.
oh.
Yes, that is.
All right.
That's.
Well, as I say, with that though, I kind of want you guys to come on to the Stare Down and talk because y'all know a lot more about the whole betting thing than I do, and I think it's kind of a fun thing. So hopefully we'll see y'all on in the Stare Down in a few weeks. How about that?
Yeah,
Sure.
we'll work on it. Let us know. We're scheduled.
Let's do
it. The Wood family has a prestigious history of totally not illegal gambling. Yeah.
Perfect.
All right, folks, thank you for listening. Like I said, go check out all the wonderful podcasts on the Alabama Take. Go visit thealabamatake.com and keep it done up real good out there. Greg, Mallory, take it easy. Y'all, we are out.